I feel like parents tend to raise girls more than they raise boys. And what I mean by that is that they focus all their training and discipline and this and that on women.
And then you're watching all these videos and people are talking about how like, oh, it's your body, my rules or whatever. It's like, what are you
That's
talking
crazy.
about?
I saw that online. Your body, my choice.
My choice.
What?
Yes. In spite of the hardships and the things that women face, they still find a way.
Are you a feminist? Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of the Two Naija Girls podcast. I am one Naija girl, Cynthia, and we have our other Naija girl,
Jubalika Mania. Hello.
I've learned to give her room to do her little dance after she says
Yes.
her name.
Thank you.
But y'all, it's Women's History Month. It's my favorite. What? It's my absolute favorite month of the year. I just love women, Jubilee. I don't know. I love women. I love being a woman. I love that I'm a woman. I just love the feminine experience. I don't know, but that's why it's one of my favorite months of the year. Like I would say, aside from December, like Christmas, it's my favorite month of the year.
Not even why also is it your favorite month of the year? Please, I would like to know.
Because it's Women's History Month, and then it's
That's
my
it?
birthday.
Oh, okay. Because I'm like, excuse me, all these biases. Let's be real.
Let's be clear where it's coming from. Let's be clear. So it's also my birthday on March 8th, which is International Women's Day. So that's like a huge flex for me because of how much I love women and how much I love the feminine experience. It's my mom's birthday. It's my younger sister's birthday. So March is a big month for me. All that's to say that today we want to talk about women. We want to talk about womanhood. We want to talk about, this feminine bond we have. We want to talk about how we as women can continue to uplift and support other women. So the first question I wanted to throw at you, Jubilee, is, are you a feminist?
The real answer is yes.
Okay.
But I just wanted to make it clear because there's being a feminist and then there's everything has extremists.
Being militant about feminism.
Yes. Yeah. And that's not where I'm at. But I am a feminist, meaning for me, it's I'm very pro-woman. Any day, anytime, find me in the corner of a street. Yes. I'm very pro-black woman. Let's start with that.
There you go.
Because that's key for me,
yes,
right? It's anywhere. You know that song that says, I love a black woman from infinity to infinity?
Yes. Or do you know that meme by Zach Campbell where he goes, black women? I love that meme. Have you seen it? I'll send it to you.
Yes,
I'll send it to you.
But yeah, so I'm pro-woman, period,
Yeah.
right? But I'm also just a lover of black women and just seeing them excel, succeed.
Yes.
These are the things that make me happy. Let me tell you. And I think it also comes to when something's happening to me too, I'm looking for my friends or my I want you to be a part of this. You have to because I want you to but I love women. This world would be a better place if there were more women. But
I agree 150%. And speaking of being pro-black woman, again, I'm about to get spiritual, but y'all stick with me. God expressed me as a black woman for a reason. And I take pride in that. I take so much pride in being a black woman. I take so much pride in being a Nigerian black woman. I take so much pride.
I knew it! The Nigerian in you could not sit still.
This is not the Two Naija Girls podcast for nothing. It's not the Two Naija Girls podcast for nothing. I take a lot of pride in being a Nigerian black woman, Like you said, and I understand the instinct to clarify where you stand with your feminism because, of course, like you said, with any movement, they tend to be extremists, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, it's an immediate yes, too. I'm a feminist because I believe in the equity and equality of everyone. Yes. Everyone, no matter how you identify, right?
Absolutely.
So for that reason, I am a feminist. I believe in the equality and equity of women. I believe that women are deserving of the same rights as men. I believe that women are deserving of the same opportunities as men. And I practice that in my everyday life. I do my best to practice that in my everyday life, starting with the people around me. So for instance, I was just telling Jubilee this morning, I'm not sure if you did you see the Nike Super Bowl ad?
You can't be demanding.
The last Super Bowl ad, the one with Shakari.
The one with all the
that was powerful.
Yes,
that was powerful. Really, like I must have listened to that ad like 10 times this morning, and each time I just got more and more hype.
Yes, no, but I hear you on that. I hear you on that because it really it was good. It was really good. Yes,
it was a good ad, and I think before it came out, again, just because I'm making my business to know this stuff, I think there was a lot of talk on Ad Weekly and all that about how Nike is intentionally betting on women, and not just betting on women, but betting on women's sports, right? So over the past like couple of years, women's sports has seen a surge in popularity, right? There's this movement, I can't remember the name of the organization behind the movement, but they created these shirts where written on the shirts is "Everyone watches women's sports." Right, and it became this phenomenon, cool. Where like celebrities wear the shirts, male athletes wear the shirts at their games. Everyone watches women's sports, and we're starting to see a new spike in the growth of women's sports now, right? So I guess like my next question would be like, what are your thoughts on the progress of the feminist movement, or the progress of like women equality and all that as it is right now?
I'm like, as it is right now.
I feel you. I feel you.
I feel like, no, honestly, I feel like we made so much progress. When I tell you we made so much progress in the past years, where it's like now you're beginning to see women in spaces where you usually will not see them, right? And doesn't it feel good sometimes that you go to a meeting and then it's like, it's all men, obviously. That's usually the case. And then there's just one woman there that just pops out. It feels so good. No, really.
That's the story of my life, Jubilee. Because I've been a male-dominated industry, right?
But I love it. Like, it makes me so happy. It warms my heart. So it's like we've moved forward we've come so far in like women equality and having, allowing women sit at the table. I mean, are we there? No. But at least women are beginning to like have their voice heard. They're having the, and then have you heard, sorry, I just have to say this. Have you heard this trending sound on TikTok that says, and I put on my mask and I am relaxing, and all of a sudden I hear this grating dirty sound. I forgot how it goes. Annoying sound. I feel like that's how we have progressed as women. And then all of a sudden, come January, it's like someone just went there and decided the time machine needs to be twisted and turned back.
That's 1985.
1980 Guinea. Go back to back to AD.
Yeah.
Where it's like people are like purposely trying to take away the rights of women. Like the rights of women to even trying to take the rights of women to vote.
That's crazy.
It's like, that's crazy to me, right? Because it's like, and then you're watching all these videos and people are talking about how like, oh, it's your body, my rules or whatever. It's like, what are you talking about? That's crazy.
I saw that online. Your body, my choice.
My choice.
What?
Yes. And I'm just like, so those things, right? It's like, it makes you like really sit down and really wonder like, what the hell is going on? Like, how did we make so much progress? And all of a sudden now we're taking 10 steps back, right? And then women are, and then what? Young girls, like we are now we are the adults. We are the new adults.
Yeah, we're the adults.
So unfortunately as well, we need to keep fighting for these things. We need to keep fighting to be in those spaces. Sometimes it gets tiring, it gets exhausting, but we need to keep fighting to be in these spaces because these men will do anything. Some men, not all men, but a lot of men will do anything to like take away those rights from women and make like imagine now, you know what I mean? There's spaces where women are not even allowed. Like now you're trying to take away like even positions that women are in because you think that they are DEI hires.
That's insane.
Because you think that they're being hired because they're women.
Yeah, that's insane. You know what's funny about all this to me, Jubilee, and why I just kept quiet is I don't even believe that the people who like are trying to eradicate, diversity, equity, and inclusion and all that. I don't believe that they actually believe what they're saying. I believe that it's just a game to them. right? The people who have the power are putting on a show for their followers.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay, now I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
The people who are making
the people who are making the decisions, I think, are just putting on a show for their followers. And that's one thing. The other thing I wanted to also say is that I feel like the pushback against, like women equality, women rights, unfortunately, but the silver lining to that is that it goes to show how much progress we've made as women, that, like, we're in the public eye to the point where people feel the need to now suppress. Right?
I love that. Yes.
Yep. To the point where people feel like, oh, this is getting too much. This is too much equality. You know what I mean? It's like now they feel the need to.
They're too powerful.
They're getting
they look
too powerful.
Too happy.
They look too happy. They're too free. Right? Women are choosing to not have babies anymore. Women are choosing to not get married anymore. Because in the past it was, like marriage and all that stuff. It was more transactional than it was from a necessity for women, or even a want, not just a necessity, even a desire. So take, for instance, like in the past, women couldn't open bank accounts by themselves.
What are you saying in the past?
Women
it's in the 80s, like we're not that far from it.
We're not that far from
when
it,
you
right?
really think about it, there's people who are alive who could not do that.
Right. There's so many things. Couldn't own property, right? So the incentive for a woman to have a man partner at the time was basically for that protection, because without a man, apparently back then, without a man, you're not a full-fledged human being. You don't have the rights of a human being if you don't have a man, either in the form of a husband or a father, right? You're subhuman according to them, right? And so I think we've come to an age where, like you said, women and it's happening right now. Statistics are showing more women are choosing to be single.
I don't blame them.
Yeah, women.
I don't blame them.
For their own peace of mind, right? More women are choosing to be single. Women would rather have a baby by a sperm donor these days than to actually get married for their own peace of mind. Women are forming communities around themselves, right? Forming, whether it's single moms, forming communities to support one another. And again, there have been studies on how there's this male loneliness epidemic, right? Where men are becoming lonely because women are making different decisions. In South Korea, I don't know if you heard about it, there's a whole movement in South Korea.
Yes.
Yep, there's a whole movement of we don't need men, right? We are celibate of men, right? And so again, like I said, it's because we've made all this progress that there's this pushback. And that's like a two-edged sword, where it's like on one hand, it's a good thing, but on another hand, it's just like, bro,
Yes. But then at the end of the day, we have to continue to fight. That's the truth. Right. At the end of the day, right? It's like, you cannot just be like, oh, okay, now they've taken it. Like you said. No, we have to keep on fighting for it, right? We have to keep on, because unfortunately, if we don't keep showing up, then you know what I mean? It's gonna feel like, okay, we're not doing anything. Our voices are not heard, and if our voices are not heard, it means that we've actually now accepted that this is the defeat that we're gonna take, as opposed to we need to just show up. You know what I mean? Yeah. And the interesting thing is that I was thinking the other day, I was like, instead of all of us showing up in our tens and thousands, which is great, maybe we can show up in 10,000, and then some people take a break the next month, and then the next people, because it's emotionally so tasky. You know what I mean?
Team,
so that way we're never giving up, and the people who are carrying the load do not feel like they're carrying it alone. You know what I mean? Where it's like, we're constantly in your faces, you're constantly hearing our voices, you're constantly hearing us, but you ain't gonna play with that. What you're not gonna do is you're not gonna take us back to, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Child.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So speaking of feminism, right? And I hate to say this, because I feel like as a decent human being, something doesn't have to benefit you for you to be in support of it, as long as it benefits other people. But I feel like a lot of men are against the feminist movement because they feel like it's a fight against them. Meanwhile, in my opinion, and the way that I see feminism, it actually benefits men because it makes men freer also. It frees them from all those patriarchal norms that are holding them and us to certain archaic standards that don't apply in this day and age anymore.
But do you see why you see it?
Yeah.
Do you see why you see it?
Why I see it?
Because you're a woman. They ain't gonna see all this that you're saying.
Yeah.
It ain't gonna make sense.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, a lot of men run on ego.
And ego is weakness. I'll say that in any space. But yeah.
Ego is the driving force of certain behaviors, right? It's like it's driven by ego. So that's what I'm like. Well, that's why you're like, when you're saying, I'm like looking at you and I'm like, do you see why you see it?
Because from my feminine perspective. And then there's like, I don't know, maybe like 10% of men who get it too. I know my younger brother.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Girl, there's more than 10%. There's a huge percentage of men who get it. No. There's a huge percentage of men who get it.
Yep.
But then the unfortunate thing is that, you know how people are loud and wrong? The wrong ones are even very loud.
There's a Nigerian saying that goes, empty barrels make the loudest noise.
Yes.
It's the wrong ones that are usually the loudest, unfortunately.
Yes.
That's why extremist movements tend to take the face of any movement, right? Because it's the wrong ones that are the loudest. So it's even like we said with the feminist movement, the wrong ones are the loudest. And so when people think about feminism these days, everyone's like, like there's a tendency for some people to want to shy away from that identity.
Yes.
Because the wrong ones have taken over the identity because they're the loudest.
It's now a hate against men. And it's like, I don't hate you as a man.
Right.
All I'm asking for is I want to be able to have
same opportunities.
Equal. Like, what is the problem?
Same level of respect. Yep.
You know, but men do not want to be like, oh, you know, I mean, there's this brainwashing of men that has happened for years.
Oh, yeah. Especially right now. There's like a new surge of that brainwashing that's going on right now. Like, I don't know if you heard of the red pill movement.
No, I haven't. Actually.
So the red pill movement, again, I'm not that knowledgeable on it, but I have seen the term being used. Movie? It's from the movie The Matrix, but in their minds, they feel like they're the ones who are seeing The Matrix. But the red pill movement basically is a rollback movement on all the progress we've made over the years. So you've probably heard of Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
So Andrew Tate is a red pillar. That's just the best way to describe it. He's a red pillar. He's the kind of one who, you know, no respect for women. It feels like men are being emasculated, of which, I feel like that word emasculate is such an ugly word and there's a reason why, like, there's no like syntactically correct feminine opposite of that word, because it's bullshit. Like, no one can emasculate you when you think about it. No one can take away your mind. Like, no one can do that to you. You know what I mean? It's such a ridiculous term. But yeah, that's what the red pill movement is about. And unfortunately, a lot of young men are listening to those people. A lot of teenagers are listening to those people. There was a video that went viral a couple of months ago, a while ago. And it was like 14-year-old boys, and someone was asking them about like girls and the demeaning things they were saying about women. I'm like, who are your parents? Who are your parents? Where are your parents? Right? So again, speaking to, you know, on that note, what is the responsibility of parents, right, in teaching not just their girls, because I feel like parents tend to raise girls more than they raise boys. And what I mean by that is that they focus all their training and discipline and this and that on women. I'll speak to the Nigerian context because that's where I was raised. Don't wear this, so you don't do this to a man. Instead of telling the man, don't do this to a woman regardless of what she's wearing. Or I remember my mom, I love you. But I remember my mom training me like as a kid, what's gonna happen if your husband comes home and he's hungry. And that was her incentive to train me to cook, not to train me to have a life skill, which is what I see cooking as, to be honest. It's just a life skill. Like, it's just a skill that you survive life with. It has no gender. Skill? And it has it shouldn't have a gender.
Why wouldn't you teach the boys?
Exactly, but that's my point though. You should teach the boys, right? So many people who tell you women should be cleaner than men. They should know how to clean the house, you know, things like that. And they're not teaching you all this because it's like, oh, this is the life skill that you should gain. It's because, oh, one day you're going to have a husband. So women are literally raised from, you know, like youth as a child to live for men. To live for men. And to exist for men. You know,
I mean, that's usually the case. And then you're asking about me, like, how, first of all,
well, you were rebellious.
I'm the first daughter in my house and the entire family.
Right.
And then a girl. And it's one of those things I will never forget. There was a day that my mom and I were having a conversation. I think I don't know if I've told you this before. Yeah. And she was like, oh, you need to learn how to cook because how are you going to cook in your husband's house? And then I looked at her.
That was my experience too.
And I looked at her and I was, as you already know, so I was a rebellious child. So
you were rebellious.
I looked her dead in the eye and I was like, what's he doing in his house? Why is he not learning how to cook for himself? And my mom's like, well, you know, I love you, but mom's like, why these are the kind of questions that I did? And I'm like, why does my question make you uncomfortable?
Agitated, because she doesn't have a reasonable answer for that.
I'm asking. I remember one time, I'll never forget. Like, my dad's having conversations with his friends, right?
Yeah.
And they're talking about something, and I felt like I had input because what they were saying, some parts of what my dad's friend was saying was inaccurate.
Right.
So I decided to come to to the conversation. My mom was waiting for me at the door. She was waiting for me to finish. She said, and I've told you this before. The thing about me
that you shouldn't have joined in the conversation, right?
No,
I have a similar story, but I'm listening to you.
Because women, we don't.
Yeah, because we're supposed to be seen and not heard. I'm listening.
But here's the thing. The thing for me is like my childhood was such a contradictory one, because my mom and my dad were two different people. Yeah. When it came to like, because
your dad was saying another thing and your mom was saying another thing. Yeah.
Because I would do something and my dad felt so proud. Yeah. When my dad introduces me to his friends, he loves. My dad's like, he'll tell people like, oh, you know, when I introduce Jubilee to my friends, she doesn't just bend down. He's like, she shakes them and looks them straight in the eye. So proud of her. And do you know what I mean? And those are the things that when I do, my mom's like, don't even put your hand out. Like you need to bow your head and and so for me, I always just. I don't know. Maybe I was just born a feminist with it in my blood. Because honestly, my entire childhood, I questioned everything because it was like, oh, but you're not supposed to do that. You know, I just kept on asking why. And then one day, I will never forget.
I was a tomboy. I was a tomboy, Jubilee. I also just like inherently just rejected. I remember my mom used to fight me because when I sit down, I would like spread my legs.
Do you understand how like that was even a thing? Like, even to
close your legs when you sit.
Just tell me, close your legs when you sit. But close your leg when you sit because men. Single thing was because men.
Because men.
Yep. Because men. Yeah. Because I'm like, how are you not telling these men?
And that is why. We have
these
issues such
men
as,
that you're talking about. Want them.
That's why we have issues such as sexual assault and things like that now. Rather than society to train men to be more mindful of women, the onus is always on women to be mindful of men. And so it creates it organically just creates an imbalance of power. Because except for people like you and I who just don't listen, you know? Because me, I didn't care. I was a girl, like, you know, like I played basketball growing up. I still play basketball right now. That's why when you said, you know, like when you go into a space and you see only one girl here, I'm like, story of my life. When I go to the basketball court, I'm usually the only girl there. Usually the only girl in the midst of men, you know, and I don't give a fuck. And you know, like, I don't give a fuck.
No, but as it should be.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, like, you know what I mean? I don't see anybody looking over their shoulder. I don't see any man looking over his shoulder. Now we sound like extremist feminists.
Right. And no, we're not. We're not. And you know, the funny thing is like, and the funny thing, of course, when I start to beat the men on the basketball court, that ego kicks in, right? Of course. And then it turns into hatred. I still remember this story when I was in college, right? There was this guy, you know, he was an attractive guy, objectively attractive guy. And so, like, you know, when I first met him on the basketball court, he was all like Fabio with me, you know, trying to like flirt with me or whatever. Yeah. And then I kicked his ass on the basketball court. and that like immediately turned into hatred. For the rest of our time in college, that guy hated me because I beat him at basketball. But this is why I say ego is weakness. Because like really, like does it matter though? Does it matter? Guess what? When I go to the basketball court these days and play with men, I have nothing to lose. I'm just there to have fun. Y'all are the ones going like, yeah, a girl is not gonna beat me. I'm just there to have fun. I'm free, you know, I'm enjoying myself, you know. But yeah.
To be fair also, right?
Yeah.
To be fair, and honestly to be fair, right?
Yeah.
Some boys who have now grown into men were raised a certain way for years and years and years. So it's almost like I don't want to say brainwash because then it makes you know what I mean, makes it sound like they're just bad people. But a lot of them have been taught this ideal where it's like sometimes there's some men that you can see them fight it off.
Yes, they do the work.
It's in there, right?
Yeah,
but it's like they're still battling with it because I think the conversation starts from, and which is so interesting to me because it's like the conversation needs to start from home. From when they're kids. Yes. Right? Because it has to be that. Yes. That conversation needs to happen a lot. Yes. And most boys gravitate closer to their moms. I mean, their fathers.
Yeah, you're right. Because I feel like women gravitate towards their moms later in life.
Yes.
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 Yeah.
And so it's like, but then I've also come to school and learned from watching other people's experience and hearing other people's stories that those kind of fathers who do this brainwashing, right, are very present.
Yeah.
In the wrong way, but they're
in the wrong way. Yeah.
They're very present, in the life, in the life of their kids and things like that. Yeah. Because think about it. An example. This is such an extreme example, but I don't know if you watch the Menendez brothers.
I've heard that.
So it's like these brothers and then one of the brother played what's it called, tennis, right? And he would go everywhere with his dad and blah blah blah. Meanwhile, the father was abusing him, and nobody understood why the boy was so timid, so a certain way. But I'm saying that and the father was present at every game. He was there. He made
present in the wrong way.
So that's the thing for me. I'm like, sometimes it's like, do you even have a fighting chance? Because the only way that, like the Menendez brothers, if you watch the story, they killed the parents. That was what they were going to kill the father, but then they're like, their mom is gonna suffer without him, so they killed her too. And they went to prison. They've been in prison since they were 18.
Yeah. That's crazy.
They're currently in their 40s and 50s.
Yes.
So do you get what I'm saying?
That gives you pause. Yeah.
Yes, because sometimes I'm like, do they even like? Do you have a fighting chance?
Right. If you're raised in an environment like that.
Then how do you know better? Because unfortunately, you're raised in an environment like that. You never leave that environment.
Yeah.
You live in that environment your entire life, right? And then now you marry a woman, and then the woman comes into your house, and then you have your own child. You've never left that environment to even know what that is better somewhere.
I think this is where the larger society comes in my opinion.
Well, yes. Yeah.
I think that's where the larger society comes in. That's where that idea of, it takes a village comes in. Because if the larger society isn't reinforcing some of those things that you're learning in the smaller society, that's why there's this whole debate on like the disadvantages of homeschooling, right? Because a lot of people feel like when kids are homeschooled, they don't get to experience. So say, for instance, in a case like the Menendez brothers, right, where imagine if a kid is being homeschooled in that environment. So you don't even have the chance to see anything else. Yes, there are dangers outside as well, but there's also the opportunity to see a different perspective outside too. So it's a double-edged sword as well.
It is.
So I think that's where the largest, that's
because you're homeschooling your child because the public school system does not work as great because you want your child to get all the knowledge that they can, right?
Yep.
And then now you're homeschooling them and then they're not exposed to the world.
Yep, they're not exposed to the larger society. And then remember that the person who's homeschooling is the one who has the power. Because your child, your child's idea of what's truth is what your idea of what's truth is what your child is going to take. And they don't have the opportunity to see other perspectives of truth outside, right? So I think me, the conclusion is that society really fails men, if we're being honest, right? And I see that show up in so many spaces. Again, like I said, I'm in a male-dominated industry, editor, all that stuff that I carry cameras, I record, all that kind of stuff, right? I edit, and I just feel like, this is where like society fails men in general. And I'm starting to see it show up even in our work. Women in my industry, I'm the head of several media departments. I've worked in different capacities, chief creative officer in marketing agencies, stuff like that. And the women are sharper for some reason. So I feel like we're getting to a point where it's like that virus is starting to eat itself. That virus of, machismo, male chauvinism is starting to eat itself. I think there was a study a while back too that showed that women are doing better at school than men. And you start to ask yourself, like, what is going on? Like, why is that happening?
Yes,
right?
please.
Right? And you start to ask yourself, also there was another study a while back.
Because I don't have to name all my degrees.
Do you understand? And then there was another study a while back that said they're more like the society is producing more women entrepreneurs, right? So many studies, and I see it where I work, like in the creative agency I currently help head. The women are sharper. Like we're sharper. Like when I give a woman an assignment, one of our women editors or creatives or whatever, an assignment, I can trust that assignment will be executed well. Versus when I give it to a man, when I give it to one of the men, I have to like micromanage them a little more than I do the women to make sure that it comes to the point where I really want it to be.
I love a woman from infinity to infinity.
Right.
Thank you.
Right. And so it's like this virus is starting to eat itself. And honestly, like I personally, as a woman in my feminine experience, I don't know how to help, but I hope that society wakes up to the fact that they're failing a lot of men and, start to give more attention to boys, girls.
But then also, I can turn it around and say that
in
spite of the hardships and the things that women face, they still find a way.
Yeah, true.
To heal.
We have still found a way. That is so
to
powerful.
Unlearn.
Yes.
And then to claim back our power and then to put our foot down and find our place in society.
That is so powerful.
So it's like, okay,
that
so what are you
so
saying?
Powerful. Yeah.
Are you say, like, you know what I mean? Because I truly, like most,
so it's
a
like,
lot of the women that I know,
the hands of men, right?
Yes.
When women figured it out in spite of the odds.
Because think about it, right?
Yeah.
You're speaking, for example.
You're right.
Growing up, you're being told you need to do that for no, a man is gonna. But then you grew up, you unlearned that.
Yes.
Relearned something new for yourself.
Yes.
Went to therapy.
Yes.
Healed yourself from it.
Yes.
And then started to put yourself in spaces that you were told you could not be in because you're a woman. You couldn't do that because you're a woman. You couldn't. You said, but you get what I mean? But you did that. So my thing is like, at the same time also, society has failed men. Yes. But we cannot come and babysit you through it. Life is already challenging. Life is already tough. Life is already whatever.
Jubilee's preaching now,
we're not gonna come and babysit you through your life. Like tell you.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
True.
Heal your goddamn self.
Heal yourself. Your responsibility.
I was watching a thing where a guy said he was crying on a podcast. Crying like, oh my God. And then the lady stitched it and said, I know you're wondering why this guy is crying. And then she says, let me give you context.
Yeah.
This guy was crying because there's a lady online who's talking about like men's behavior or whatever, and this guy is like stalking her and wanting to ask her questions. He starts to stalk her. She brings the story online about him stalking her. Leave me alone were her words. Leave me alone. He came on his podcast and crying that she said that and then proceeds. Somebody who has said I don't feel safe anymore proceeds, if I'm not mistaken, now I'm just taking proceeds to say that he still is open to a conversation. It's like, guy,
take a hint. It's not even a hint at this point because
but
you see what I'm saying?
Thing. Like, but you see what I'm saying? It's like sometimes it's like, at what point do you?
At what point does it click?
Like, does it click to you that you know what I mean? Like, this is not okay. And then another thing also to help society.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of men are finding healing in a podcast spike. But I think we should take it away.
I think we should take it away.
Because I think we should if you take it away, now they can really focus on like inner healing before they get them.
I feel you.
Do you know what I mean?
I feel you. Because here's what happens is, like you said, hurt people. Unhealed people spread on healing. And that's precisely what is happening in society right now.
On healing, unhealed people damage people.
Yeah.
Like spread on healing.
Yeah.
If they're ever spreading on healing, that means there's an opportunity for healing.
Yeah. That means healing is in the equation.
Some women end up 6 foot under the ground.
Right. Yes. Yes. Did you hear the story about? I think it was a long distance runner in the Olympics whose boyfriend burned her to death. or ex-boyfriend or something, right? And it's just like, but again, when I hear these stories, like, as much as I have empathy for of course, for the women, and there's that part of me that's like, society has failed men so much, and I hear your point, but failed men so much to the point where this is what it has gotten to. Y'all are no better than animals. Some of y'all, of course, not all of them, because I have some really good men in my life.
Please, my dear, starts with my father.
Now, all that said, Jubilee, you made a very important point when you talked about the value of us who are the adults now continuing to take a stand for the ones who are coming after us.
Yes.
What are some ways in which we can do that?
I mean, just start instilling it in the kids that you have, right? You have a little nephew somewhere, like even if you don't have kids.
Yes.
Like, you have a little nephew, he comes to spend some time with you and you can just tell him, no, don't do that.
Yeah.
Do that. There's so many kids' books that start teaching them from very young ages.
Yes.
Like just kindness and whatever it is, right? So just get those for them. Like, honestly, the moment you instill that at the foundation of it helps, right?
I agree.
And then also, if you see, like, because sometimes obviously, like, if you see a male child struggling, don't be like, he's a boy, he'll get over it. No. Check in.
Pay attention.
Like, hey, what's happening? Like, are you okay?
He's a person.
Talk to me. What's happening? Because you don't want him to go and get it from the same people that you're trying to remove. You know what I mean? So you want him to be able to get that from you, and so that way they feel seen, they feel heard. Because truly, right? As much as women, we like to be like, we like to feel seen, loved, whatever. Men love that stuff too.
It's true.
They really, really do.
It's true.
So making them feel seen, heard, or whatever, it also helps. It impacts that. But I truly believe, in my heart, that it starts from like when they're young.
I agree.
Right? That's when you can make the most impact.
Yep, I agree.
When they're young, like, just, and honestly, conversations, and then it can be down to, like, you don't have kids, you don't have nephews, you don't have nobody. Maybe you're a teacher in a school. Support that kid. Do you know what I mean? Get a moment to teach them how to be, good men.
Yeah.
In your community, you can start like a boys club or whatever that, it is.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Just to talk about, talk about being a man and what that feels like. And you know what I mean? And being able to, like, sit in your feelings and being able to also, as much as you have your masculine, be able to embrace your feminine side too.
Yes.
Right? So that way, you know what I mean? So
150%.
So things like that, I think, honestly, just resources to people and getting them there and having those conversations, like having honest, open conversations. Yeah. Because and as a woman, I had to, like, learn to read, like, I read in books and things. And then women, it's easier for women to build community because we're like, women are more
open, emotionally open.
Open to have those conversations, right, with their girlfriends and things, which is so helpful. And it makes you have perspective on different things as well. So I just think that, honestly, conversations, talking about it, constantly talking about it, putting resources in front of these boys. But that's what I think will help a lot.
150% agree. And that's why I said that feminism is for the benefit of men too. Because it starts to free you from those, norms that are really, a lot of them are very stupid. Norms that society has placed on you. Like you said, like a lot of boys grow up hearing boys are not meant to cry. What? Boys have emotions too. Let boys cry. Right? Let them feel their emotions. And that's why a lot of them grow up angry. A lot of them grow up not being able to handle their emotions. A lot of them grow up not being, the only way they can express their emotions, or the only way they feel safe to express their emotions, is through anger. Right? Through anger. That's why a lot of people grow up with anger issues. They grow up with temper issues, and then they become dangerous to society because you're not letting men, boys feel their feelings, letting them know that it's safe for them to feel their feelings. As much as girls do, it's safe for them to feel their feelings. And speaking of the masculine, feminine energy, we all have both, but we live in a society where women are allowed to it's more acceptable for a woman to show her masculine energy than it is for men to show their feminine energies. And it's not fair. It's not fair to men. You hit the nail on the head. There isn't much else I have to add. But yes, allow men to be who they fully are. right? Beyond those archaic ideas of manhood. Allow them to feel their emotions. Allow them to love what they want to love. There's this show I loved on TV. There's this man and he had a son, right? And his son just wanted to play with dolls growing up rather than like trucks and stuff. And I think someone made fun of the son and the man fought the person. He's like, if my son wants to play with a doll, he's a kid, let him play with a doll. Let him love what he wants to love, right? I'm sure the likes of Law Roach, who we all know, who's doing wonderful things right now, grew up maybe changing the clothes on Barbie dolls, right? Right? Like, so let men be, let men be in certain ways. In the same thread also, we don't want to ignore the ways that society doesn't let women be as well. Because there are other ways that society doesn't let women be too. Right? And that, to me, that's what true feminism is about. Equality and equity, regardless of what gender you identify with. Right? So you hit the nail on the head. There's nothing much else I have to add to that. Who is one woman who inspires you and why?
To be honest, now, I've become very inspired by my mom lately. Really, really.
I'm smiling because that's my answer too.
Yes, only because I've seen her have conversations with us now, and I've seen her growth.
Oh, girl!
And it's so beautiful to like witness,
girl,
and just see. It's like I'm having conversation with my mom now,
yes.
And there's a time that I'll have conversation with my mom, right?
Yes.
And it'll just be like, now I have conversation with her, and then she's just like, and that's none of my business. It has nothing to do with me, so I don't need to insert myself. I'm like, excuse
you, okay?
Who are you? Because I don't know.
Who are you?
So
what did you do
I want to say
mom?
my mom, like, definitely, absolutely inspired by my mom for sure. Like, I love the growth. I love to see it. I love to recognize it.
Yes.
In the bigger world.
Yes.
On a larger scale. On a very mighty mountain, on a very.
I feel like I can guess, but say.
I already know that you're gonna say yes, because I've already said it like 5 million times already. So I always use who?
Issa Rae.
No, actually,
okay.
No.
No.
But don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
I love me.
Inspires you too. Yeah.
Let me tell you. Issa Rae inspires, like, so many women, honestly.
Yeah.
Issa Rae inspires me. Jackie Aina inspires me a lot.
Yes.
Who else, man? There's so many of
Oprah Winfrey. Not so much.
Yes, but not so much. Like Oprah's not like, I don't know. That's not. But on the bigger, like, whoa, wow.
Yeah. What she established
Kamala inspires me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Kamala. Yes,
will be Michelle Obama.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, shit.
Like,
I should have guessed Michelle Obama. Yes.
Because like that.
Yes.
For me is. I used to have this idea of what success, and I think we had this conversation recently.
Redefining
of what success looks like for me.
Yeah.
And that has completely changed. Completely changed for me, where it's like, and now I'm trying to like, okay, I need to redefine it, not just to myself, but I need to redefine it in the way that I show up in the world too, and the way that I show up for myself, and the way that I show up for the people around me as well, because that's how I can stay true to myself. Do you get what I mean? Because if I'm like showing up as a different person out in the world, and then I want everything to align, because success looks so different for me, and so it's like Michelle Obama, not because she was the first lady or whatever. No, it's because of that level of awareness. That level of I'm okay with my life the way that my life is. Does it make sense? Like that level of
it's confidence.
How can I contribute?
It's like
how can I contribute? Yes, how can I contribute to society? But also, how can I not bend to what you think is right?
Yes.
Or what the norm is, right?
Yes.
Like she not attending that inauguration. Chef's kiss.
Yeah.
Chef's kiss.
She said, get somebody else to do it.
But then nothing. The internet tried to bully her. She did not change her mind.
Yeah.
So Michelle Obama is one person on a bigger,
larger
I'm like,
scale.
On a larger scale, I'm like, like I said, I love women. I love Black women, but I love Black women who create space for other Black women to just,
because that's what it's about,
to exist.
That's what it's about. It's about paying it forward, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I definitely,
So mine is my mom, and it's funny. My mom has, even when we weren't always like close, my mom has always inspired me. My mom is one of the most creative people I know. So I get my creativity from her.
Yeah.
I remember my mom. One of my fondest memories of my mom. She sketched an entire like catalog, fashion catalog, like the people, everything. She sketched the entire thing by hand. Yeah. And had it mass produced and sold it back in the day. So my mom's a fashion designer, interior designer, all the creative stuff. So my mom really inspires me. And my mom, like, what I love the most about my mom is her inner strength. There's this inner strength she has, right? It's not a strength that announces itself, but that strength is there.
Yes,
she doesn't brag. Yes. Doesn't say, "Oh, look at me, look at who I am," but when you see her, that strength is there. You know what I mean? So I have a lot of love and admiration for my mom. On a larger scale, honestly, I'm not going to lie to you. I wasn't able to think of one person, but like you said, some of the ones you mentioned inspire me. Michelle Obama, love you. Kamala Harris, love you. Doechii, lots of black women. Asia Wilson, who's a basketball player. She was MVP last season of the WNBA. Asia Wilson inspires me. Just so many women who inspire me, man. Jubilee inspires me. My girl Jubilee
inspires me too.
Yes. My girl Jubilee inspires me. Yes. And I feel like you and I are fortunate to be in community. And we are going to dedicate an entire conversation to this one day. But we're fortunate to be in community where we've been around some pretty powerful women, you and I, right? Like our friends, we've been around some pretty solid women. And, I think, again, it goes back to that thing we said about being in our bubble, right? Where, like, and then when you go outside, you're like, what? Is this how other people live?
Honestly, it really is like a thing.
Yeah, for sure.
There's power in that, for sure.
There is, for sure. There is
so much power.
So do you have anything else to add before we wrap up? Any words
I'm just saying, go out there and enjoy yourself. Go out there, own your power. Don't let no man. Stand in the way of your power. That's it.
Yes. Don't let no man, no woman, no boy, no girl, no one stand in the way of your power.
No dog, no cats.
The song I woke up to this morning was my power. So that's my theme for the entire month. My power is, like I said, women are so powerful. Like there's just this power I feel when I think about womanhood and being a woman. So own that power.
Yes.
Own that power. Not just this month, but beyond. But
Yes, I agree.
This has been another episode of the Two Naija Girls podcast. I'm one Naija girl, Cynthia, and we have another Naija girl,
Jubilee. Yes.
We will see you all on the next episode.
We'll see you on the next episode. Bye.